Water is composed of one oxygen atom that is covalently bonded with two hydrogen atoms. Water molecule dissociates to give a proton and a hydroxyl group. Water in food is present in three forms: free water, physically bound water, and chemically bound water. The water which is present in fruits and vegetables, which we can see with our eye, is free water. This water can be frozen during freezing or removed during drying or dehydration process, or we can squeeze it out in the form of juice. Free water is available for chemical and biochemical reaction, and it can also be used by microorganisms. So we can say that the food that is high in free water content can spoil easily or very quickly. Physically bound water is the water that is binded to the food with the physical forces. This type of physically bound water can be found in emulsions or gel, etc. The most common example is the mayonnaise, in which we vigorously beat the egg whites with the oil so that the water in the egg white is actually physically binded to the oil. Chemically bound water. We can see by the name that it involves the chemical linkages of water molecules. This water is very difficult to remove during drying and very difficult to separate during freezing. It is also not available for chemical or biochemical reactions and not available for microbial growth. This is the water that is present between the cell walls of the plants. Examples are cacti and pines. We know that cactuses and pines can survive in very extreme condition of weather, and that is because the water that is present is chemically bound water. Equilibrium relative humidity. This concept is very much important in food spoilage and in food packaging. It is defined as the relative humidity of atmosphere at a particular temperature at which a material neither gains nor loses moisture. In food, it is defined as relative humidity of air surrounding the food that is in equilibrium with its environment. It is important because we know that food absorbs moisture from the surroundings and becomes soggy, or it loses the moisture in the environment and becomes dry. So this study is important to figure out that what ideal conditions should give to the food to maintain its quality. We can refer equilibrium relative humidity as ERH. So different the percentages of ERH, the different properties of the food will be. So if the ERH is between 0 to 25%, then the water is unfreezable, food is stable, but auto-oxidation may occur because oxidation reaction does not involve water and does not need water presence. But if the ERH is between 25 to 80%, the freezing point is further reduced, but food is liable to deteriorative changes. That is, non-enzymatic browning can occur, hydrolytic and oxidative reactions can also take place. If the ERH is between 80 to 99%, there is a further decrease in the freezing point, and microorganisms can grow, enzymatic activity can take place, oxidative and hydrolytic reactions can occur, and non-enzymatic browning can take place. So we can say that there is a pattern. The more the ERH will be, the more food is liable to spoilage and deteriorative changes. Water is also present in the food dispersions. Dispersion is a mixture in which fine particles are scattered in a continuous phase throughout a different substance or state. The part which is dispersed is known as a dispersed phase, and the substance in which these are suspended is called the continuous phase. There are actually three types of food dispersions. Food solutions are dispersions in which solid or semi-solid particles are evenly distributed in waters. We can say that examples are syrup or fruit juices. Fruit juices in which pulp are semi-solid particles, so it is the dispersed phase, and the water is the continuous phase because the pulp is mixed in the water to make the juice, or we can say the food solution. The next type are the colloidal solutions. These are the mixture in which substances are regularly suspended in a fluid. The dispersed phase is the long chain macromolecules consisting of proteins or polysaccharides and lipids. These macroparticles are crystalline or aggregate or amorphous form. So this type we can see in jam, jellies or ketchups. Food gel consists of a continuous phase of interconnected particles intermingled with a continuous water phase. In this example, we can say that when we are making soup, we don't put directly the cornstarch into the broth or water. Rather, the cornstarch is firstly mixed with a little water to make a food solution. Then, this food solution is put into the broth to make a soup, which is technically be called is food gel. Emulsions are two immiscible liquids that are dispersed into each other. Immiscible means that the liquid that cannot be mixed together. So by now we know that emulsions are created by physical forces. It has also two phases, the dispersed phase and the continuous phase. The food emulsions are of two types, oil in water like cream, milk and mayonnaise, and water in oil emulsions that are butter, margarine, etc. So the substance that is present in the larger amount is the continuous phase, and the substance that is present in smaller quantity is the dispersed phase. Now that we know that how many ways water is present in the food, we will briefly look at what role it plays in the food. It is essential for chemical reactions in living organisms. It governs the rate of chemical reactions. Water acts as a reactant in hydrolytic reactions. It also serves as a transport medium, that is, it carries nutrients to the cell and remove waste from them. The percentage of water and the state in which it appears, it is important in determining the storage life of the food that we have already discussed in ERH. Carbohydrates are classified into monosaccharide, oligosaccharide, and polysaccharides. Monosaccharides are the simplest form of sugar. These are also known as simple sugars. They cannot be hydrolyzed. These are sweet in nature, soluble in water, and they supply energy. Monosaccharides crystallizes when water is evaporated from them. It prevents microorganism growth in high concentration. That is why sugar syrups are used for the food storage. They can be fermented by microorganisms, and monosaccharides are caramelized on heating. They also produce browning reactions. These are the reactions in which sugars are combined with proteins to give dark colors. These are the some famous monosaccharides. There are trioses, tetroses, pentoses, and hexoses. Trioses contain 3 carbon atoms, tetroses 4, pentoses 5, and hexoses contain 6 carbon atoms. The most common of them are hexoses that contain 6 carbon atoms, and you can see that these are the aldose sugars because they contain this aldehyde group in them, and the examples are glucose, mannose, and galactose. These are all isomers of each other, meaning that they have the same chemical formula but different structure formula. You can see that there is the changing in the presence of hydroxyl and hydrogen in their structure. Then there is a ketose. The most common is the fructose. In ketosis group, you can see that these are ketoses because they contain this ketonic group, and this is the most common pentoses, which is known as ribose sugar. Monosaccharides combine with each other to give oligosaccharides and polysaccharides. So you can see here that this is the glucose, which is a monosaccharide, and this is the fructose, and they combine and join with a glycosidic bond. They form a sucrose, that is a disaccharide, and disaccharide is also comes into oligosaccharides. Oligosaccharides are actually the sugar that contains 2 to, we can say that 5 to 7 monosaccharide sugars. These are the oligosaccharides, and then there are polysaccharides which contain many more monosaccharide unit. So you can see here that this OH from the glucose and this H from the fructose group, they combine and give off water. So as a result, in order to satisfy the valency, the carbon here will bond it with the oxygen, and this bond is called glycosidic bond or glycosidic linkage. In this way, these two molecules combine to form a molecule which is known as sucrose. Here are some disaccharide examples. You can see that when glucose and fructose combine, they form sucrose, which is the table sugar we use in our daily life. Then there is lactose, which is formed from the galactose and glucose. Remember that galactose is a monosaccharide that does not occur freely in nature. It is it is only produced in the body when lactose is uh, we can say that lactose is broken down in the body. This galactose is then formed and it is used by the brain. It is the only energy source that brain uses. Then maltose is a combination of glucose and glucose. Now we know that polysaccharides are the other chemical compounds that consist of many hundreds or thousands of monosaccharides. Starch is one of them and a very common one. So it is not sweet in nature and it is readily soluble in cold water but not in hot water. It will form paste or gels, or it will lump or coagulate. This we can see when we are making custards or soups. We cannot put cornstarch directly into our milk or our broth to make soup. We first have to mix it with a little bit of cold water to make a solution so it doesn't coagulate. Starch is also a reserve energy source in plants. But we have already discussed that starch paste are used to thicken food, and these its granules in heated water swell and gelatinize and finally form a paste on cooling. This we can say that when we are making sauces and we put in cornstarch or corn flour or any other flour which has starch in them, we we keep the consistency a little bit flowy because on cooling it will more thicken. Cellulose and hemicellulose are also belong to polysaccharides that are abundant in plant kingdom. They act as a supporting structure. They are insoluble in water and they are not digested by human, so they do not yield any energy. But these are important in our diet because they act as a dietary fiber. This is not digested in human body, so the retention time in intestine is increases and they they provide bulk to the feces. Pectin and gums, these are made up of sugar acids. They are found in fruits and vegetables, actually between the cell walls of fruits and vegetables. They are soluble in water and in colloidal solution they contribute to viscosity. That means they enhance the viscosity if they are added in a colloidal solutions, and if they are added in a food solution they form gels. They also act as a food thickener or a food stabilizers. The example is the gum arabic, which we can found in the jelly that we make in our homes. The next major constituent of food is the protein. Protein are made up of long chains of amino acids that are held by peptide bond. The structure of amino acid, you can see here that there is a carbon center. In center there is a carbon atom that is joined with hydrogen and a carboxylic acid. This is COOH group. It is also connected to the amino group that is NH2 and R, which we can say that it can be any carbon chain. The importance of protein is that these are essential to all life. They form supporting structure as well as protective structures like cartilage in the bone, the skin, the hair, nails, and also they form muscles. They are the major constituents of enzymes and antibodies in our body, the hormones, milk, blood, and egg white. There are 20 amino acids and they are classified into essential amino acids and non essential amino acids. Essential amino acids are those which our body cannot create in it and therefore we need it from an outer source. Meat is the source of essential amino acids and these are leucine, isoleucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, valine, and histidine. Histidine is added to this list because in children age or we can in child age this is not created by the human body and therefore it is needed. So the non-essential amino acids that are created by our body are alanine, arginine, aspartic acid, cysteine, cysteine, glutamic acid, glycine, hydroxyproline, proline, serine, and tyrosine. The last major constituent of food is fats and oils. They are also known as lipids. They are not like proteins and carbohydrates in the regard that they are not polymers of repeating units. They do not form long molecular chains. They are smooth and greasy substances which are insoluble in water, but they are fuel sources because a single fat or oil molecule give us two times more energy as compared to protein or carbohydrate. So in this regard, fat and oil act as a fuel source. The glycerol molecule is combined with three fatty acids and there are 20 different type of fatty acids. You can see here this is the glycerol molecules which has three hydroxyl group and these all three hydroxyl group are very reactive. But this is not necessary that glycerol has necessary to react with three fatty acid in order to make a lipid. It can react with one that we will call monoglyceride. If it is connected with a two fatty acid then it will be called diglyceride and with three it is called triglyceride. Here are some things that we should understand regarding to fat and oil. That oil is simply a fat that is liquid at a room temperature. If it is solid at room temperature we will call it a fat. If it is liquid then we will call it oil. So there are saturated fatty acid and unsaturated fatty acids. The difference between them is that saturated does not contain double bond. They are all single bonded. But unsaturated fatty acid contain double bonds. If there is one double bond, they are monounsaturated. If there are two or more double bond present in the molecules, then they will be called polyunsaturated. So the next is hydrogenation. This is the process or the reaction in which hydrogen is added into the unsaturated fatty acids to saturate them. And there are also a smoke point, flash point, and burning point, and they are very important concept in food technology because they can be come in handy while we are studying frying the food. The point at the temperature at which the oil when heated start producing smoke is called the smoke point. If oil is further heated it produces flash. This is called flash point. And if it is further heated from the flash point then the oil starts to burn and this is called burning point.